lot of pressure on it and flattens it. And every day I have to change out the blotters, otherwise it'll get moldy. But after about a week, you have a pressing that's preserved for centuries. Like the San Diego Natural History Museum has pressings from the 1800s that still look like pressings you could have made yesterday. And so some of the information we collect, and we have labels on the back, is like the scientific name of the seaweed, where it was collected, who collected it, when they collected it, and then each seaweed has a catalog number, so it's kind of like a library with each book having an index number so that we can keep track of what seaweeds were found where and when. And it's a tool for tracking like biodiversity in an area, and can also give us insight into like a new non-native species that was found in an area where it's not supposed to be, or what species are common in an area. And so we have our library of seaweed pressings here in these cabinets. We have about 5,000 specimens, and they're organized taxonomically, so by species. And the reason we have so many pressings is not just to capture what they look like through time, but also the same species can look very different depending on where it's growing. So yeah, that's some of our work. I also digitize them, or I scan them, and they'll be available online. So we have our scanner back there, and that's useful for doing like image analysis on pressings. So there's a lot of science that you can do with them, but it's also naturally art, like how you arrange it on the page. It does look like watercolor, yeah, so they flatten completely. The bulbs are hard to flatten. Yeah, that one, so that's the holdfast. Do you know what the holdfast is? The root-like structure at the end. So yeah, it helps it like anchor to the bottom. Yeah, so that's kind of an intro to.
How did you guys press the bulbs?
Yeah, so just over time they flatten. I have to be really careful when I tighten the straps, because if I tighten them too much on the first day, the bulbs pop. Oh. And I don't want them to pop, I want them to flatten. And so you have to be really gentle with it, and every day tighten it a little bit more until they're completely flat.
Yeah, sea otters go on the seaweeds too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we actually had a student who made artwork, a sea otter out of seaweed. And then, yeah, we do I make a lot of seaweed art too, digital art, with the scanned pressings. And you can preserve them in resin, you can also just dry them. This is a bull pelt. We don't have bull pelt here because it's too warm. But yeah, that's a dry bull pelt. And this is an example of a holdfast, like I was telling you. There's a bunch of like little invertebrates and critters that live in it. So it's like an ecosystem on its own.
So when you press them, like it doesn't, like you said, you had to press it for a certain amount of time before it starts to go bad or something like that?
Yeah, so because they're wet when you first press them, if you leave them for too long in the press without changing the water paper, they can get moldy.
Oh, okay.
And that's hard to get rid of. Yeah, so just every day you have to like change out, like if this is wet, I have to put in a dry one, dry that one out, and we reuse the materials.
Oh.
What kind of education was your journey to get you to this place?
I did undergrad here at UCSD and majored in environmental systems. Mm-hmm. And then I also did grad school here. During undergrad, I took a course that our advisor teaches, phycology, marine plant biology. It was a lab here at Scripps. Mo TA'd it the last time we taught it.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I did grad school. I actually studied more coral reefs. The corals and the seaweeds, so that was more tropical systems, and then now for my postdoc I'm studying more of the temperate seaweeds, and yeah, working on our herbarium.
Cool.
How many samples do you think you have in the herbarium right now?
Oh, we have over 5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many of those are like different species, roughly?
Oh, so most of them are from California, but we do have some that are from anywhere the lab has gone. So they do field work in Hawaii, Palmyra. I think we have some specimens from like Australia or wherever people have gone. But overall, we have maybe like hundreds of species. I would say like 300 or so. Yeah, I know that off the coast of California, there are supposedly like around 700 species of seaweeds.
So there's 5,000 samples in that library right now. Like
Yes.
in that space, like super
Yeah.
tall. I don't even think I have space to like have 5,000 of anything. Does that make sense? Do people see like the crazy like sheer scale of like how many different samples we have and it can all fit in this organized library?
That's
This thing's taller than me. But like each sample is like how thin? Once you press it right?
Yeah, paper thin.
Paper thin, right? That's crazy, right?
And then you can all fit it there. So like, how many of those paper things can you fit in just like one shelf over there?
I wish I knew the answer to that because that would help me organize it better. But probably hundreds, maybe like 200.
And basically one person's curating or in charge of curating this whole collection. You're talking to her right now. And she's like scanning each one. She's like annotating each one. She's figuring out like where they came from, putting them into a bigger database to make it more publicly accessible. Like it's a lot of work. And it's for this space that's like, that we can all pretty much fit into and close the doors. There's so much knowledge in here. So it's pretty valuable, right? There's a lot to understand in this. A lot of history that teaches us stuff from like generations ago. And they're still preserved like the first day that someone pressed. Even Ellen Browning Scripps, who you all kind of know now.
Yeah.
You think she pressed?
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, she went to beaches in La Jolla and collected seaweeds and pressed them, and she and her friends would try to identify them, so give them their scientific names.
Yeah, I bet she did all sorts of things because she found such a huge institution.
She did, yeah. Yeah, she donated a lot of money to like the zoo and Scripps Oceanography and the Natural History Museum and all sorts of educational institutions.
Dee, what's your favorite pressing so far, or maybe even specimen that you have in your collection?
Well, I've really been liking the feather boa kelp lately, Egregia. And I've been doing a project actually about how it can look so different even though it's all one species. So there's this one where the branch, or like the blades are very like needly and branched, but the same species, this is also Egregia, and here the blades are more like broad and flat and then like dissected, like jagged at the tips. And it's all one species. And so that was confusing to people for a long time. Before we had sequencing, people thought that these were two different species. But then now with new technologies, they sequence them, it's all the same species, and so what causes that variation? So we think that it has to do with where they're growing, like the water temperature and the wave action and the nutrients on where they were growing. So,
Isn't that like
Genetic
epigenetics or
mutation?
something like that?
Is it like a genetic mutation?
yeah, there.
I don't know,
Honestly, I'm not a genetics person. They do have like individual like genetic variability, but they all come out to be the same species. So yeah, the question is like if you took an Egregia and sporulated it and like grew it in different conditions, could you get them to like manifest different morphologies? And people have kind of done that, but not completely. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have seaweed species from like other places too, like south from here, or like in
Yeah, that's a good question. So we mostly have seaweed species from around Southern California, but there are herbaria like all over the world actually that specialize in the region that they're in, and many of them are digitized, so you can see them online. We have a collection permit, so we can collect, I think, like anywhere in California, but not necessarily like across the border or other places. So yeah, every herbarium kind of has their own like focus area based on where they are. So we have a lot of the San Diego species represented, and other collections have other counties or states seaweeds represented.
So if you leave the country, you need to get permission before collecting from that
General,
country's
yes, yeah,
government.
yeah.
what if you're having a hard time figuring out what seaweed you were looking at? If you wanted to like try to identify it, what would you do?
Yeah, so there's a lot of seaweed field guides. There's an app called the Seaweed Sorter. It's more for like seaweeds in the Pacific Northwest, so like a little bit north of here. There's an app called iNaturalist.
Yeah.
Are you familiar? Okay. Yeah, so you can take a photo of a seaweed if you're on the beach or tide pooling, and it'll actually use AI to try to identify it based on what it looks like and based on what species have been found nearby. And then the expert scientists or like community citizen scientists will confirm the identification. So anyone can try to identify seaweeds. And then there's all sorts of guidebooks, like taxonomy books that you can use that are more detailed. And sometimes to identify them, you have to look under the microscope, you have to make a cross-section. Other times you have to answer questions like what is its branching form, what like texture does it have, what color, where was it found, and things like that. Yeah.
Any other questions for Adi?
It looks like a fun job.
It is, yeah.
A lot of knitting.
Cool. Let's thank Adi for her time and knowledge.
Yeah, thank you for listening.